Hey, what's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod, bringing you another informative podcast. Today, we're going to cover the 4 brutal realities why you're not making any progress. Buckle up. It might be hard, but these truths are going to help you overcome those plateaus you've reached. So in my line of work, there are 2 truths that are regularly reoccurring. The first is that the journey of health and fitness is full of ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys and plateaus. Often I hear, I would be more consistent with my workouts, but this happened. Or I would be more consistent with my eating, but this happened. Or you see my kids, blah, blah, blah. Or my wife, blah, blah, blah. Or we're traveling for the holidays, blah, blah, blah. There are all kinds of reasons that fitness takes a plunge that are really easy to understand. So today I'm not going to talk about those things. You know what those things are, and I'm going to need you to get over those. Today, what we're going to focus on in these 4 brutal realities are things that nobody else is talking about. And I want to be really real with you so that you can take your health, your fitness, and your dad bod to the next level. The second truth in my line of work is that there is no shortage of information available at your fingertips. Sometimes that's a great thing. Sometimes that's an awful thing. You can Google anything you want right this second, and you'll have thousands of answers right at your fingertips. Are carbs good or bad? Should I be ketogenic? Should I start intermittent fasting? Should I lift heavy weights for low repetitions or light weights for lots of repetitions? What kind of cardio should I do? How many calories do I need to eat? What supplements boost testosterone? How many FDA lawsuits were brought against my pre-workout this year? There are no shortage of good questions worth asking, and the internet is full of fantastic information. However, it's as much information as there is out there. It's also full of information that's not very personalized to you. So today I'm going to talk to you about the 4 brutal realities that are personalized to you, and I'm going to be really real with you because I found with my clients in the past that it's very difficult to find these answers in one easy place. So here we go. The first brutal reality about why you're not making any progress right now, man, is that you're not consistent enough for long enough. You're not consistent enough for long enough. I believe it was Aristotle who was first quoted as saying, "You are what you consistently do." You are what you consistently do. Now, Aristotle was talking about the philosophy of virtue. He was talking about what you actually do with yourself matters more than what you think and what you actually say in a public setting. Today, we would probably say that actions speak louder than words. But with regard to fitness, you are what you consistently do speaks to a deep biological truth, a concept called homeostasis. Homeostasis is the idea that a biochemical system works really hard to maintain itself in a number of ways. For instance, let's look at your body. On the inside, your body is constantly working to maintain a core body temperature. 98.6 is the average among the population. If you've ever had a fever, you know what it feels like when your core temperature starts to go up higher than your body's happy with. It also attempts to maintain a pretty constant pH, generally just a little more alkaline than water. And that alkalinity is optimal for your body's chemical reactions to occur without damage. Hormonally, digestively, neurologically, and even nutritionally, your body is constantly struggling to maintain homeostasis in a world that's changing all around it. So what the heck does that have to do with your fitness? Well, if you have a fitness goal right now, let's say you want to jump higher on a plyometric box, or you want to lift heavier on your deadlift, or you want to lose several percent on your body fat, or you want to gain some muscle, or you want to run faster and farther. You want to increase your cardiovascular fitness. You'd like to have more energy. You'd like to keep up with your kids better. You'd like to be able to touch your toes. Whatever that fitness goal is, the way that you get there is you threaten your homeostasis. Changing your nutrition, changing your exercise program, changing any lifestyle habits that will actually result in that goal, those things fly in the face of homeostasis. Unfortunately, homeostasis doesn't know what good shape is. It just knows what kind of shape you usually are in, and it works really, really hard to maintain that level of shape. So on the plus side, let's say you generally work out, you generally eat healthy, you generally get to bed at a good time. That means these holidays aren't going to be super rough on you, dude. You're going to go home for the holidays. You're going to eat some cheesecake with your family. You're going to do a little less weightlifting than you're used to. And then when you come home, it'll take you maybe a week or two to get back to your normal self. On the minus side, if you've been out of shape for quite a period of time, let's say you weigh more than you'd like to, and you've weighed this much for the last 3 years. I'm going to be brutally honest with you, man. A 8-week program is not going to change you for the long haul. If you've been this way for 3 years and then you get your crap together for 8 weeks, 8 weeks is a super tiny little blip on the scale of your 160 weeks of being out of shape, okay? It's less than 8% of the time that you've been out of shape. So what am I trying to say to you? I'm saying that if you have some serious goals that you are dead set on making sure that you accomplish, I want you to set your sights on the long haul, because only consistency over time is going to change your homeostasis for the long haul. Whether you're in great shape now or in less awesome shape than you'd like to be, the truth of the matter is, if you're going to change anything about your health and fitness, it's going to take a good amount of time. And you can't depend on that to happen over a period of 8 weeks or 14 weeks. You have to look at how much time have you been in the shape you're currently in, and you have to get comfortable with the reality that it might take you at least half as long to change you as it took you to get here. What am I saying? I'm saying if you've been in this kind of shape for 3 years, you better set your sights on a year and a half from now to be in a position that not only are you in the shape you want to be, but you're at homeostasis in that kind of shape, and your body's going to work hard to maintain it, despite what's going on around you. Brutal reality number 1 about why you're not making progress in your fitness goal is you're not consistent enough for long enough. I admire your gusto to get in the saddle and change some things for the better, but I've got to be real with you, man. You got to change them for the long haul. This is not a short-term program. You are getting ready for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, you're going to have a really hard time finding that truth on the internet because it's pretty bad for business in the fitness industry. Everywhere you look is some 12-week program or Whole 30 program or whatever that promises to change you in the way you've wanted for forever. And sadly, that's just not how biology works. Ask yourself about things that you've changed in the past, and ask yourself how long it took to get those things where they were on autopilot. And that's how homeostasis works. So that's brutal reality number 1. If you're going to change something about yourself, I'm going to need you to be consistent for the long haul. What I tell my clients is when you set a fitness goal, I want you to ask, hey, it's 2017 right now. Fast forward an entire year and we're sitting right back here in 2018. What is different about you? And if you can't think that far ahead about what your health and fitness goals actually are, I'm going to ask you to go back to the drawing board, because when you look only 12 weeks from now, 3 months from now, January 1st, February 1st, you're not looking far enough to make any significant changes to your body's homeostasis. Brutal reality number 2 is recovery. You need to recover as hard as you worked out in order to see the results you'd like to see from your health and fitness. What does it mean to recover hard? Well, first, let's talk a little bit about what actually happens in an exercise program. Imagine you're running on the treadmill and you're just running for 30 minutes and you burn 400 calories and that's all well and good, right? As soon as you turn off the treadmill, if you're used to running for 30 minutes, then that's when the workout stops. That's when the magic stops. You've burned 400 calories. Nothing's really that different. No big deal. Let's say instead that I put you through 5 sets of squats, 5 sets of deadlifts, some side lunges, some dumbbell thrusters, and some core work, and that's very different than what you're used to. Now, in an hour, we might only burn about 400 calories. However, because your body's not used to that, then after the workout, the magic doesn't stop. It's not, hey, I burned 400 calories and that's the end of the workout. Exercise's job is to change you. You should do it in a way that changes you. If it's not changing you, then it's just activity, not exercise. So in this scenario, if I run on the treadmill, I burn my 400 calories, I turn it off, that's the end of the work. The 400 calories are done with. But scientifically speaking, if you do something that's difficult on your body that actually requires it to adapt, you enter a mode called Epoch, excessive post-exercise oxygen consumption, which in layman's terms just means that the workout's not done. Your metabolism is actually increased significantly for the next 24 to 36 hours, depending on what you did. So you have a heightened caloric need, right? And why is that? Well, it's because your muscle tissue is actually recovering and adapting from what happened. Your ligaments and tendons are getting more dense and stronger. Your bones are getting more dense and durable. Your heart mass is growing. Your testosterone's going up. Your growth hormone's going up. And this process actually takes quite a while. And the goal of your body is to recover from the workout that you actually did. Not just recover, but adapt to turn you into a bigger beast or stronger beast or whatever kind of beast you want to be than you were before you started your workout. So running on the treadmill for 30 minutes, if you're pretty conditioned for running, isn't actually exercise. It's activity. Exercise should spawn some sort of adaptation. And therefore, brutal truth number 2, the reason you're not making progress is you're not recovering from your exercise correctly. Since the magic of your workout happens after the workout, my question to you is, how are you sleeping? If you're working out regularly, but you're sleeping like garbage, then you're shooting your body's ability to adapt right in the foot. So here's a fun fact for you. When you sleep, there are 4 stages of sleep. You got phase 1 and 2, which if you took like a 30-minute nap, you get into those. They have their place, but they're not deep sleep. Then you have REM sleep. REM sleep, which is where you would dream. One of the reasons that REM sleep exists is to actually restore neural tissue, to strengthen the myelin sheaths that allow connections that you've made to be even stronger. In other words, if you learned to squat today or you learned to jump on a box better today, if you sleep really well, those neural patterns that allowed you to do that are going to solidify. And tomorrow you're going to be better at that skill than you were yesterday. So that's a really big deal with exercise, especially since things like strength, flexibility, coordination, those are neural adaptations more so than even muscular adaptations. And then the 4th phase of sleep is called delta wave sleep. Your brain basically shuts off in this phase of sleep. And most of the body's restorative energy goes to tissues. So rebuilding tendons and ligaments from what you did in your workout, or rebuilding muscle tissue from what you did in your workout, so that tomorrow or the next day, depending on how hard you hit yourself, it might take, 48 to 96 hours to completely recover from what you did. Delta wave sleep is why those tissues come back stronger. So if you're recovering well by sleeping well, then you're going to solidify neural connections and you're going to solidify those tissue adaptations that you created in your workout. Another important question about your recovery is how soon after your workout do you get building blocks back in your system? Things like the vitamins and minerals required to restore the tissues that you've broken down during your workout, or the amino acids required to start rebuilding those tissues, and even more importantly, the carbohydrates that increase the insulin in your bloodstream so that your cells open up to the nutrients that you put in your system. There's a lot you can say about recovering well. Let's say my goal is weight loss. Well, I wouldn't want to carb up too hard after my workout and increase my insulin so that I stop burning fat as a fuel source for the rest of the afternoon. However, if my goal is muscle gain over fat loss, then increased carbohydrate intake post-workout will decrease delayed onset muscle soreness so I can get back to the gym faster. And since insulin is the most anabolic hormone in your body, increasing insulin can actually spur muscle growth. It also spurs the growth of other tissues as well, which is why a lot of muscle gain is more easily done while gaining fat as well. It might be worth having a conversation about how to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, but that's not what we're talking about today. The last thing I'll say about recovery here is that recovery can actually begin immediately after the workout if you'll take the time to relax. So exercise is a very sympathetic activity, meaning that your conscious nervous system, the nervous system that you have control of, the fight or flight nervous system, is what controls what you do in exercise. A lot of sympathetic activation. Now, if you don't relax directly after your workout, you don't get some stretching in, you don't hit the dry sauna, you don't sit down and meditate for 5 minutes, you don't jump in a pool of ice or whatever, then the sympathetic response can continue. I know a lot of guys who will rush their workout right into the middle of their workday, and then they go straight from their workout right back to work without making any time to relax. And actually what happens is you carry that sympathetic response, and it actually causes you to recover less effectively than you would if you would have relaxed directly afterward. Now, relaxing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Activating your parasympathetic nervous system directly after your workout will increase your testosterone and growth hormone so that the adaptations that occur while you sleep tonight are actually greater than if you didn't before. And they've actually researched this on athletes. A simple example was in a study where they had the athletes work out really hard and then they sat in an ice bath for 10 minutes following the workout. The athletes who sat in an ice bath for 10 minutes after the workout had significantly decreased delayed onset muscle soreness within 48 hours, and they had significantly improved performance within 72 hours of the workout, whereas the athletes who didn't relax directly after their workout missed out on those adaptations. Now, the ice bath sounds kind of crazy. You're like, oh, should I jump in an ice bath? The ice bath is just a way to force parasympathetic activation. If you're in a pool of ice, your body actually does the opposite of the fight or flight response. Fight or flight response causes vasodilation so that blood goes to your arms and your legs so that you can run faster or fight the tiger or whatever it is you need to do. Vasoconstriction is what happens when you jump into a pool of ice. Your body actually cuts off the circulation to your muscles in order that more blood goes to your core and conserves your body heat rather than losing it to the ice. So please don't hear from me that you need to go jump in a bath of ice. I mean, if you got one, cool, but you'd get the same delayed onset muscle soreness reduction and same improved performance and improved adaptations following the workout if you simply took 10 to 15 minutes to just relax before jumping back into whatever it is you have to do following your workout. So brutal truth number 2, why you're not making progress, you're recovering like garbage. I need you to recover just as hard from your workout as you worked out that day. And if you're not doing it, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're kind of like a dude running on the treadmill getting nowhere. Brutal truth number 3 is that genetics has a huge part to play in how you adapt to your nutrition and your exercise. Genetics has a huge part to play in how you adapt to your nutrition and your exercise. In the industry today, there are a lot of companies that'll put a big picture of some sexy dude or chick on a bottle and try to convince you that you can look exactly like that person or that you're just a few little tiny changes away from having the body you've always dreamed of or something along those lines. And what we stress at Defining Dad Bod is that everybody's different. Every single person you come in contact with has a different genetic blueprint than you do. Now, they don't differ wildly. Something like 99.7% of all of our genetics are shared among us as Homo sapiens. However, that 0.3% can go a very long way in changing the way that you respond to nutrition and changing the way that you respond to exercise than somebody else. Here's an example. Are carbs good or bad for you? Well, outside of talking about how carbs are the primary fuel for intense exercise or carbohydrates are required in order to run your brain, we're not going to have that conversation today, but I want to focus on the genetic component of why carbohydrates might be processed differently between people. So what you should know is that they did this big study on a group of people to find out if there was a genetic difference between how some people create amylase and some don't. Amylase is the enzyme that's produced in your saliva. If I start talking about chocolate chip cookies or cornbread or donuts or whatever it is that makes you feel really happy and hungry at the same time, and you start to salivate, your salivary glands are putting out a few different things, but one of the things that they're putting out is called amylase. Amylase is the enzyme that begins carbohydrate digestion in the mouth. Then when you chew up your food, you swallow it, you've got amylase all mixed in with those carbs, breaking them down so that in the stomach, your stomach can actually start to transfer those digested carbohydrates into the bloodstream to be used for fuel. So carbohydrate digestion begins in the mouth with amylase and then is actually completed in the stomach so that carbohydrates can hit the bloodstream relatively quickly after you eat. Why does this matter? Well, it turns out that there is a portion of the population who produces as much as 4 times the amount of amylase as other people in the population. What's that mean? It means that the high amylase producers are really, really good at digesting carbohydrates. Now, in a world where carbohydrates weren't that abundant, let's say 10,000 years ago, where getting a piece of fruit was really hard to do, then that's a very adaptive genetic thing to have because you can process what little carbohydrates are around, you're really good at breaking them down, and you can be a bigger, stronger, beast mode person. However, in a world where carbohydrates are super, super available and they're just about in everything, gosh, flip over any ingredients list and look at the sugar content, having high amylase is actually a pretty rough thing when it comes to body composition. It means that there are some people in this world who can eat carbohydrates and it hits their bloodstream way harder, way faster, causing an insulin spike and way more likely to be stored as fat on their body than other people who have low amylase and can eat those carbohydrates without really breaking all of them down very fast. And so they hit their bloodstream really slow. It's less likely to cause an insulin spike, less likely to be stored as fat in the love handles. So genetically speaking, there's actually a huge difference for some people in how they should eat carbohydrates in their day versus others and how they should eat carbohydrates in their day. We all have that friend who can eat an entire pizza and they never change. But we also all have that friend who can just think about muffins, it seems, and they get a little more in the love handles. So before you read all the hype on the internet about ketogenic diets and when you should eat carbs and when you shouldn't, listen to yourself and listen to your body. You know how you do with a relatively high carbohydrate diet. Does that seem to improve your performance, or does that seem to put a lot of fat on you really quickly? And remember, no matter what your genetic makeup is, the quality of the carbohydrates matters. Skittles are going to have a very different effect on your body in building quality mass than sweet potatoes will. So no matter what your genetics are, the quality of your food really matters with regard to your results. But genetics is not something you're going to find a lot of people talking about on the internet when it comes to carbohydrates, especially with regard to fad diets that want you to buy their stuff and meet their macros and do what they do. It's really easy to claim that the entire population's the same, and if everybody just did this, we would all look like Greek gods, but that's just not true. You have to find the nutritional makeup that works well for your body. Another good example of genetic makeup affecting your progress is muscle fiber typing. Now, this is an area study that's largely contested in the fitness industry. It's largely contested in the medical world. But something that we all intuitively know is that there are some people who are skinnier and there are some people who are bulkier. And you can see this in the Olympics where the extremes are exemplified. The people who are running the marathon or killing the 2-mile run, those people are very type 1 muscle fiber, genetically speaking. They could go to the gym and lift heavy weights, but they likely wouldn't gain a whole bunch of muscle mass. But then if you watch the sprinters in the Olympics or the gymnasts in the Olympics, they're very type 2 muscle fiber, genetically speaking, which means that if they lift really heavy weights, they're going to get bulky really fast. However, you could stick them on the marathon course and have them train for that. But by and large, they are larger people with larger muscle groups that prefer to run off carbohydrates. So I'm not saying the secret or magic bullet to your fitness goals is to find out whether you're a type 1 or type 2 muscle fiber person. However, this can really affect you. Let's say that you're the kind of person who, when you start lifting weights and you start eating higher protein, you start eating higher fat, you, quote, bulk up really quickly. I hear people say all the time, I gain mass really quick. I don't like to lift a lot of weight because then I just kind of end up bulky and mushy. That might be an indication that you're a type 2 muscle fiber person, meaning that your type 2 fibers, the big thick ones with lots of sarcoplasmic fluid, they fill up really quickly and you gain a whole bunch of mass really quickly. Which isn't a bad thing. If you stick it out, actually, that increased mass will also increase your ability to process carbohydrates and will also increase your metabolic rate. So in the long haul, it will actually help you to burn fat as a fuel source over time, but you've got to be patient with it and stick with the program. You bulk up real quick, and then after about 6 to 12 weeks, you start to see that return on investment as your body fat percentage comes down. Now, if you're a type 1 muscle fiber person, your body's going to respond relatively quickly to your low weight, high rep activities. And you're going to have to be really patient with yourself when it comes to building tissue because type 1 muscle fibers are not very large. On the plus side, since they're laden with mitochondria, they're extremely efficient at burning fat as a fuel source, which means that you might do way better than the type 2 muscle fiber person as far as seeing quick results in your body fat percentage. And this is a really exciting field of research because as we study the human genome more and more, we're finding more and more things that can contribute to somebody's health and fitness and help guide their lifestyle choices so that becoming the best version of yourself is not so confusing with all the information out in the fitness world. So the third brutal reality, everybody's different because of their genetic makeup, and it's important that you find what works well for you when it comes to continuing to make progress in your fitness goals. The last brutal reality about making progress in your fitness goals is artificial hormone disruption. Artificial hormone disruption. What do I mean by that? I mean, in our world today, 1 in 3 people are on a prescription medication and 1 in 5 people are on more than 3 prescription medications. When it comes to nutrition and exercise, when I work with a client, the programs that I build are about helping their body to create the hormones they need to see the changes they want to see in their body. If I'm consuming something outside of me that is actually changing my hormonal makeup on the inside, an exogenous or external hormone disruption, then that can significantly impact my workout and nutrition's ability to change my hormones. A good example would be taking a statin. Now, I don't want everybody who's taking a statin listening to this to immediately go stop your statin. Statins are drugs that artificially lower the amount of cholesterol in your bloodstream. They're prescribed in order to keep you from increasing blockages in your arteries and keep you from a life-threatening event of cardiovascular disease. Now, that being said, remember I said statins artificially lower cholesterol in the bloodstream. Guess what all of your hormones are built from? You got it. Cholesterol. So testosterone, for instance, is a molecule. You can look it up right now, Google it, testosterone, and then Google cholesterol. And look at the molecule. They're almost the same thing. They're almost exactly the same molecule with a few changes here or there. Your body uses cholesterol in order to create testosterone. So if you take a drug that artificially lowers your cholesterol, guess what that does to your testosterone? You got it. It artificially lowers your testosterone. In fact, a very common side effect of statins is low testosterone. So when it comes to fitness, if I'm lifting weights and I'm hoping to cash in on the fact that resistance exercise increases testosterone in my body, but I'm taking something that actually lowers testosterone in my body, then it's going to interfere with that adaptation. Now, I'm not saying that if you're taking a statin, you shouldn't exercise because it's not going to do anything for you. What I am saying is you need to get with your doctor, and your conversation with them needs to be, what do I need to do in order to start lowering this amount of medication that I'm taking so that I can cash in on the benefits of my workout as far as hormones are concerned? Another common example in our present day world is thyroid medication. A lot of times I'll have clients who go to their doctor and they say, hey, my metabolism's low, I'm feeling pretty sluggish, my energy's low, I'm gaining weight. And so the doctor will do a test on them and see that their thyroid hormone is low. And so they'll put them on like Synthroid or Armour Thyroid or a myriad of other prescription medications that are designed to increase your thyroid hormone. What's really interesting is 6 months after that hormone replacement therapy, that thyroid hormone level will come up to where it's supposed to, but the client will still report feeling less energetic. They'll still report feeling tired. And then they'll explore things a little further. What I'm here to tell you is that hormone replacement therapy as an industry was never meant for weight loss or muscle gain or any of the things that the common person is using it for. In fact, no medication in the hormone replacement therapy world can actually claim to help you lose weight or gain muscle. When we know it's a side effect of increasing our testosterone that we actually gain muscle and lose fat, testosterone replacement therapy can only claim to bring your testosterone up to a medically acceptable level. So why don't you hear this more often? Why, when somebody's prescribed thyroid medication or testosterone replacement therapy, why is it not said to them, hey, just by the way, you might not lose any weight, but that's okay. We're increasing your hormone to a medically acceptable level. Well, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And when there's that much money in it, there's also a lot of marketing in it. And so the best I can tell you is that I'm not anti-hormone replacement therapy if it comes to treating a disease you legitimately have. But if you're not making the progress on your fitness goals that you'd like to, I would highly recommend that you consider what medications you might be taking that are artificially disrupting your hormone production. Because when it comes to nutrition and exercise, if I can't manipulate my hormones in a positive way through nutrition and exercise, because there's something I'm actually consuming that changes my hormonal makeup, then I'm like a hamster on the wheel. I'm trying a lot of things, but I'm going nowhere. So there you have it, 4 brutal realities why you're not making progress. You're not consistent as long as you need to be in order to change your homeostasis. You're not recovering as hard as you're working out that you get the seemingly magical adaptations that a workout's supposed to give you. Your genetics is different from the people that you've been trying to follow, and you need to find something that works for you. And lastly, Artificial hormone disruptions are keeping you from those adaptations that exercise is supposed to bring to you. I hope this has been helpful and enlightening to you. I hope that if it could help somebody in your life, that you'll share it with them. And then if you need some help, you'll reach out to us on Instagram at @DefiningDadBod. Don't let these brutal realities keep you from being the best version of yourself. Until next time, this is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. Kick butt, take names.